for one thing, but stumble onto something way more interesting totally by accident.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like taking a detour and finding a hidden gem.
Exactly. That feeling, that's kind of the spirit of what we're digging into today with software testing. It's called ad hoc testing.
Right. It's this idea of finding those unexpected problems that maybe a really strict, planned-out approach might just skim over.
So it sounds a bit like going off script. Is that the basic idea?
Pretty much. Planned testing is absolutely crucial, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But ad hoc adds this element of, well, surprise, almost like exploratory testing.
Okay, so let's define it a bit more clearly. What is ad hoc testing in the software context? The name itself kind of sounds like it means made up on the fly.
That's actually not far off. At its heart, ad hoc testing is informal. It's unstructured.
Unstructured how?
Well, the main goal is to find defects, often early on, by deliberately stepping outside the normal, formal test procedures. Think of it as, random checking on different parts of an application.
Just poking around, basically.
Essentially, yeah. Just exploring and interacting with the software without a predefined plan, aiming to break things or find odd behavior.
So does that mean throwing out the checklists and the detailed step-by-step guides?
Often, yes. Ad hoc testing is typically marked by a lack of detailed documentation, not much upfront planning, and it doesn't usually rely on those pre-written formal test cases.
Okay. You mentioned experienced testers often use something called error guessing.
Exactly. That's a really common technique within ad hoc testing. It's where a tester uses their past experience, their knowledge of the system, or similar systems.
Their intuition.
Yeah, their intuition, exactly, to sort of predict where errors are most likely hiding. It's an educated guess, you could say.
Okay, but here's something I'm wondering. If you're not following a script, how do you even know where to start looking? And crucially, if you do find a bug,
Oh, yeah?
how do you tell someone else how to find it too? Like, how do you reproduce it?
That is one of the key challenges, absolutely, because you're not mapping your actions back to specific test cases or requirements. Reproducing a defect can sometimes be difficult.
So you might find something amazing, but then, oops, how did I do that?
Precisely. You stumble upon a bug, but without a clear trail of breadcrumbs, retracing those steps can be, well, tricky. You need to be mindful of that.
Right. That makes sense. So given that potential difficulty, it's probably not the main way you'd test software, is it?
Yeah.
When does it actually make sense to use ad hoc testing?
I got it. It's definitely not usually the primary testing method. It's often most valuable when, say, time is really limited. Maybe you don't have weeks for a full formal test cycle.
So a quick and dirty check?
Sort of, yeah. Or another very common time is after the main formal testing is done. If there's still some time left in the schedule, testers might do some ad hoc exploration as a supplementary check.
Like a final sanity check, maybe? To catch anything the formal tests missed?
Exactly that. A final sweep. But, and this is important, its effectiveness really, really depends on the tester's knowledge of the system.
How so?
Well, the better they understand the application, the architecture, the business logic, the better their error guesses will be. They'll have a better sense of where the weak spots might be.
Okay, got it. So experience really counts here. Now, I think our sources mentioned there isn't just one kind of ad hoc testing. There are different flavors.
Yes, definitely. It's not monolithic. There are a few common variations people talk about. One is called buddy testing.
Buddy testing. Sounds friendly.
It is, in a way. It involves two people working together, collaborating, to find defects in the same module or feature.
Who are the buddies?
Typically, it's a developer and a tester. They team up.
Oh, interesting. A dev and a tester working side by side. What's the benefit there?
It's actually great for both. The tester gets a better insight into the code and maybe the developer's thinking, which helps them design better tests later. And the developer gets immediate feedback, potentially catching design flaws or bugs much earlier.
Ah, okay. So it bridges that gap a bit. When does this usually happen?
Generally, it happens after the developer has done their initial unit tests on their code.
Could you just quickly remind us what unit testing is?
Sure. Unit testing is where developers test the smallest individual pieces of their code, like a single function or method, in isolation to make sure that little piece works correctly on its own.
Right. So devs test their bits, then they might buddy up with a tester to see how it fits together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Buddy testing often looks more at the interaction or the immediate integration of that unit.
Cool. Okay, so that's buddy testing. Developer plus tester. What's another type?
Another common one is pair testing.
Pair testing. How's that different from buddy testing? Sounds similar.
It's similar in that it's two people working together on the same machine, looking for bugs. But the key difference is that in pair testing, It's usually 2 testers.
Ah, okay. Not a developer involved this time, just 2 testers.
Right. And they might have different skill sets or levels of experience. Maybe a senior tester paired with a junior tester, for instance.
And how does that work in practice? Are they both clicking away?
Often one person is driving, actually using the software, performing the tests, while the other observes, takes notes, maybe suggests other things to try, asks questions.
Like a navigator.
Exactly like a navigator. And they can swap roles too. It's really good for knowledge sharing, brainstorming test ideas, and even training.
Makes sense. So buddy testing, .dev plus tester, cross-functional,
Right.
pair testing, .tester plus tester, leveraging combined testing skills.
Got it. Are there others?
Yep. There's one more main type we should cover, and its name is pretty evocative. Monkey testing.
Monkey testing. Okay, now I'm definitely picturing chaos. Random clicking, typing nonsense.
You are absolutely on the right track. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. Monkey testing is about interacting with the application randomly, without any test cases, without any real plan or specific goal, other than just trying to break the system.
Just pure random input.
Pure random input, clicking buttons wildly, entering junk data, you name it. The idea is to see if these completely arbitrary actions cause crashes, freezes, or, unexpected behavior.
Huh. That sounds almost unscientific. But I guess it could find things you'd never think to test formally.
That's precisely the point. It's surprisingly effective sometimes at uncovering things like weird crashes, memory leaks, or buffer overflows that structured testing, which follows typical user paths, might just miss entirely.
Edge cases upon edge cases.
Exactly. You're stress testing the system in ways no sane user ever would, hopefully.
Okay, fascinating. So we have these different approaches, buddy, pair, monkey, and just general ad hoc exploration. If you're going to do this, even though it's informal, are there ways to make it, better, more effective than just blind luck?
Oh, absolutely. Even without structure, you can apply some best practices to get more value out of it. One of the biggest ones is having good business knowledge.
How does understanding the business help with random testing?
Because if you really understand what the software should be doing, what the user goals are, the end-to-end workflows, you're much quicker to spot when something is subtly wrong or doesn't make sense.
Ah, so your intuition is grounded in understanding the purpose.
Precisely. Experienced testers are often better at that error guessing we talked about because they have this deep context. They know the typical problem areas.
Right, okay. Business knowledge is key. What else?
Another good practice is to test key modules first. Even in ad hoc testing, it makes sense to focus your energy initially on the most critical parts of the application.
The stuff that absolutely has to work.
Exactly, the core business functions. If you can build confidence in those areas first through some ad hoc exploration, that gives you a better sense of the overall system quality.
So some strategic focus, even within the randomness, makes sense.
And maybe the most crucial practical tip, record the defects.
Even if you were just messing around.
Absolutely. Even if it's just scribbled notes on a pad or a quick entry in a simple tool. If you find a genuine problem, it needs to be captured, documented somehow, and reported so it can be fixed.
Correct. Otherwise, finding it was pointless.
Exactly. And here's the really important follow-up. For every valid defect you find through ad hoc testing, you should ideally create a proper formal test case for it afterwards.
Ah, so you capture that scenario for the future.
Precisely. That ad hoc discovery then gets added to your planned regression suite. So the next time you test, there's a formal check for that specific issue. It strengthens your overall process.
That's smart. So the random exploration actually feeds back into and improves the structured testing over time?
It should, yes.
Yeah.
That's the ideal loop. And those findings should also be treated as, lessons learned. They might highlight weaknesses in your requirements, or gaps in your formal test coverage, or types of bugs you weren't anticipating. That knowledge should inform how you plan testing for the next project or the next release.
Got it. So even though it starts unstructured, the outputs can be very structured and valuable. Looking bigger picture then, what are the main advantages? Why bother with ad hoc testing at all?
Well, a big one is that check on testing completeness. Like we said, it can find defects that your planned tests, no matter how thorough you think they are, might just miss.
The unknown unknowns.
Kind of, yeah. And again, finding those scenarios and turning them into formal tests makes your overall testing much more robust down the line.
Okay, better coverage. Anything else?
It can also potentially save time.
Really? How? It sounds like extra work.
Well, think about the upfront effort for formal testing, writing detailed plans, documenting hundreds of test cases, setting everything up. Ad hoc testing skips most of that initial overhead.
Right. Less prep time.
Exactly. So in situations where time is critical, it can be a faster way to get some level of testing done and find some critical issues, even if it's not exhaustive.
Okay, so quick summary time. Ad hoc testing is basically informal, exploratory testing. No strict plans or scripts.
Right. Driven by intuition, experience, sometimes just randomness.
It relies heavily on the tester's skill and system knowledge. You've got different types like buddy testing,
Dev and tester together.
pair testing,
Two testers.
and monkey testing.
Pure random chaos.
And even though it's informal, best practices like knowing the business, focusing on key areas, and definitely recording defects, then turning them into formal tests, make it much more valuable.
Spot on. And the main benefits are finding bugs missed by formal tests and sometimes saving time.
It really underlines that idea that while structure is vital, sometimes a bit of flexibility and just exploring can uncover really important things.
Couldn't agree more.
So, here's a thought to leave you with. How might this idea apply elsewhere? Think about problem solving in your own work, or even learning something new. Is there value sometimes in deliberately deviating from the plan?
Yeah, stepping off the marked trail, so to speak.
Exactly. Leveraging your experience, your intuition, just exploring a bit more freely. Could that lead to unexpected discovery or better solutions, even outside of software?
Definitely something to ponder. When is sticking to the script the right call? And when is a little ad hoc exploration exactly right?